hungry. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there. I wasn't ready. I didn't even think anybody would click on that thumbnail, to be honest. But as long as you're here, I guess I'll do a video. You're here, I'm here, let's get started. I'm gonna give you 10 reasons why people generally bomb auditions. And these are things that are within your control. Number one, you are not off book. Okay, now this happens when you have a scene or a side, you're given something to bring into an audition, or you learned a new monologue or a new song for an audition and you're not quite off book. What does off book mean? It doesn't necessarily mean that you are 100% memorized, although the more you are, the smoother your audition's gonna go overall. But sometimes auditions are quick turnaround things and stuff like that, so you can't memorize everything, especially like complex texts and whatnot. It's always okay to hold your script. In fact, you should always bring your script with you and hold it unless you're specifically asked not to, because it's a safety net. It's there to help you so that you don't completely massacre your audition if you go up on a line. Being off book means that you are prepared enough. You have read through the script, you understand what's in it, you have looked up all the words that you don't know or don't know how to pronounce, you've worked out little parts that don't roll off the tongue very easily, and you know where the lines are on your script so you can follow along with your thumb. You know the first line and the last line so that you can deliver a strong beginning and a strong ending, and you know kind of where you need to be. So you don't have to be buried in your script the whole time. That's what being off book means. Take the time to get off book. Number two, you didn't do enough character work in advance. So what does that mean? Well, you didn't study your character as it fits into the piece. You kind of maybe played yourself. This happens particularly with commercial auditions and things like that. It's important for you, whatever the part is and however small it is, that you do some kind of character work. So that means like figuring out what your character wants in the scene and what is standing in their way. Think of 3 adjectives that you can use to describe your character. They're perky, they're mischievous, they're happy, they're glum. Just find some and apply them to your character. Also know who you're talking to. If you're just talking to a camera for a self-tape audition or something like that, you need to understand that you're always talking to another person. Pick somebody specific and talk to them. If you're doing scene work or a monologue, that there is some reason that you are saying the words you're saying, and that there's something that the character wants, and there's always something that's kind of getting in their way. What is the problem that they have to overcome? Do that work. If you can get to a full script and read it in advance, that will help you with character work. But we actors, we tend to just read lines how we think they should sound, and we read it in our own voice and not in the character's voice. So that's one reason why you might have bombed your audition. Number 3, you didn't make strong enough choices. Bold choices, strong choices, risky choices. You've heard these terms thrown around all the time. Well, what does that mean? It just means figuring out what you think the ordinary answer is, the safe answer, the thing that everybody else is going to do, and do something different. Give your character a voice, give your character a posture, interpret a line a little bit differently, maybe not be too afraid to try something a little different, because that kind of captures the attention. Now, you won't necessarily bomb an audition if you don't do this or make a bold choice. Not every audition and role is about that, but sometimes we tend to just play it safe and do the safe thing. And if you do that, you might not bomb, but you're not necessarily going to impress. So think about what everybody else might be doing and do something different. Now, number 4 is particularly appropriate in scene work and monologues and whatnot, is that you didn't break your script down into beats. And what do I mean by this? So some actors will get a bunch of lines, again, like I say, and they'll just kind of read it and it'll all be one note. There's no journey there. There's no change from beginning to end or from line to line. Each beat, each breath, each thought in a scene should have a different intention, a different way of approaching it. And I recently reviewed a book called Actions, and this book is really great at giving you hundreds and hundreds of ideas for how you can break down each beat. And so assigning this thing that you do, this action that you do for each beat is really critical. And once you do that, once you start to make those beats more clear and more distinct, your scene work will just kind of come alive. Reason number 5 why you bombed your audition is because you practiced in the mirror instead of in front of other people or in front of the camera. The mirror lies. It's great to use the mirror to sort of dig into emotions and see how your expressions look when you're expressing something, and just kind of help with memorization of things, because it really helps me for that. You want to avoid practicing in the mirror, or at least you want to practice in front of a camera so that you can go back and see how you really came off after the fact. Or better yet, find some people to practice in front of, particularly like an acting coach or a director or an acting friend that can give you solid acting advice and help you make some choices and decisions and stuff like that. If you don't do that, you don't have any feedback. And so you go into an audition and you're going to bomb it because you're used to doing it in front of the mirror, and it's not the same thing. These are my Patreon top tier patrons, and I would like to thank them, give them a big shout out. Thank you so much for your support. If you would like to see your name on the screen here, head on over to patreon.com/augmentedactor and sign up. It's super cheap, super fun. You get some perks, you get early access videos, you get your name on the screen, all kinds of fun stuff. So I'd love to see you there. Number 6. You didn't ask who's in the room. I know I've walked into audition rooms that I'm familiar with, and I walk in and suddenly like everything's shifted over here. They're sitting over there. I didn't realize that, you know? And if I had known that, it wouldn't throw me at the beginning. I would know kind of where to go and how to make my entrance, so to speak. You always want to make a grand entrance. But knowing who's in the room too and how many people are in the room is really helpful knowledge, because if you're expecting one person and you walk in and there's a whole team of people there, that's going to kick those nerves in, and you're going to, you know, like all sorts of stuff is going to go through your mind. So when you're at an in-person audition, always ask who's in the room. Go to the person that's monitoring the auditions and ask who's in the room, and ask like, are they on that side of the room? Are they on this side of the room? Where do I go when I walk in? It's really helpful information to have that before you walk into the room. And as a tangent to that, your entrance into a room and your exit from the room need to be high energy, great personality. Just come in and bring that enthusiasm like you really want to be there. Don't come in apologizing and apologetic. Your entrance into the room is half your audition. Number 7, you're too focused on how you act and not focused enough on the story. So this is particularly important for monologues and songs and scene work. Your job is to tell the story. Your job is to get lost in that character so that you're not thinking about all the other things and getting nervous and wondering like, am I going to be on pitch and how to do all this technical stuff. You're not thinking about how you're going to say the lines in advance, but you're responding to your reading partner, or you're responding to the energy in the room. Now, we have to keep a certain amount of technical information in our head. We have to be able to separate ourselves from the character a little bit. But when you're in that performance mode, you need to be telling the story. You need to be invested in the emotional journey of your character, whether it's a commercial jargon thing or a dramatic scene. Treat them both the same. You need to leave your desire for the role and your audition nerves and all that away, because the character is not experiencing that at that time. Focus on telling the story that the character is trying to tell. The voice that the character is trying to speak in. That will kind of take the pressure off of you being nervous. You did not practice your piece all the way through without stopping. I can't tell you how many times people they'll be rehearsing their monologue or their scene or their song, but they do it in chunks, or they stop and they go back when they make a mistake and they keep picking it up. And even when you're running it before the show, you stop in your head. You need to take a time to actually read through the whole thing without stopping. This is particularly important for self-tape auditions because you got to get it right in one take. And sometimes you don't think that when you're reading it through, you stop and start in your head. So take the time to actually read it out loud and perform it, whether it's for somebody or for yourself, without stopping. If you find yourself stopping, start over and do it again. Number 9, you waited too long to prepare. There are so many reasons why auditions give people anxiety and nerves and nervous tension and stuff like that. You have to be solid. This goes back to number 1, being off book. That's part of preparation. And doing the character work is part of preparation. But also just don't wait till the day before or the day of to go over your materials. As soon as you get the audition notice, as soon as you get that script in your hand and you know what you're coming in with, you need to be working on it. You need to be making decisions and running those lines and studying your character. Don't wait till the last minute. So many people need like 2 or 3 days to let these things sink in a little bit and to make new discoveries about that character. We don't always get it. Sometimes an audition comes up and you got to be ready to go, and you have to be good at doing that as well. But take as much time as you could possibly take to get prepared for your audition. The auditors can see when you're not prepared. They know when you're too focused on other things because you're just not ready to be in that room. And finally, number 10, you chose the wrong material. This is when they ask you to bring in a piece for a show, not when they give you something. You can't choose the wrong material there, obviously. But when you're asked to bring something in, you want to bring something that's appropriate to the style of the show. Another scene from play by that same author, something that's in a similar tone, something that's a similar character, and you want to bring something in that you are solid on, that you have had time to prepare for. So that's a lot to ask. And sometimes if you're in like a general audition for a full season of shows, you don't quite know what to bring in which case you want to bring in something that just shows off your abilities really well. But sometimes the tone of your piece and the style of your piece, and whether it's adult in nature or something like that, can have a triggering effect on whoever's in the room. And also you want to not pick a piece that's very, very popular, especially with musical theater. Don't pick the song that's on Broadway right now or that was even on Broadway the last 5 years, because everybody and their dog's going to be doing it. And you don't think they will. You think you got that piece that no one else is doing because you think you're so clever, but no, everybody else is going to be doing it. Pick something older, pick something obscure, pick something that just is your little gem that nobody else has. I just want to say that most of these tips are for in-person auditions and callbacks and things like that. If you're doing self-tape auditions, which are very, very common these days, you got to get all of this stuff nailed and dialed in, because there's no excuse for not getting it right on a self-tape audition, because you can even read your script off camera, you can do all the prep work you need, you can do take after take after take until you get it right. So it's your responsibility to make sure you're getting those self-taped auditions up to snuff. If you want to watch a video on self-tape auditions and how to handle those, I got one right here that you can watch. Have some fun today. We'll see you again soon. Take care.